Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Sexual Shamanic Podcast. I'm your host, Usha Rose, and I'm excited to welcome to the show today, Nimai Sunra. Welcome, Nimai.
Honored and privileged. Thank you.
I had the honor of working and playing with Nimai for many years through the ISTA field, and it's a real joy to be here with him today. Nimai Sunra is an ISTA facilitator, a coach for couples and men, and co-creator of the Remember Brotherhood journey. He is a peace walker, a father, a server of the Great Mother, and part of a global community of peace seekers through the act of love. And Nimai has studied with many teachers, masters, and shamans around the world, and he currently facilitates men's circles and retreat journeys, navigating and bridging the worlds of modern and ancient shamanism, tantra, and conscious relating. And today, Nimai is here to share a bit with us about the tantric approach to fatherhood.
The tantric father.
Yes, the tantric.
And Nimai is also just a simple human with all the shit and all the bullshit that exists, with all the beautiful phrases.
Yeah. Well, welcome and thank you for bringing this important subject to our community. And yeah, it's been beautiful to witness you on your journey moving into fatherhood, because when I met you, you were not yet a father, and now you have
No.
two little ones.
Two beautiful boys.
Yeah, they're precious. I love seeing your pictures and posts. I can feel all the joy and the love that is there in your family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm curious. I know you have a lot to share with us, but I'm always curious about is, did you consciously choose to move into fatherhood? Is it something you have always wanted? Like, what was that journey like for you?
So I always wanted to be a father. It was very, very clear for me since a very young age, like so young that in my inner story, I really believed that by the age of 25, I would be a father. And I'm really happy it didn't happen when I was 25, because then everything would be completely different and I love my life. And I think it was super important for me as someone that grew up without a father. Like literally, I grew up without a father. I met him for the first time when I was 22 or 23, something like that. So there is that, like there is that inner piece of my inner child in a way that wants to heal through being a father to young children. And in the same time, as I see it now, it's probably one of the best things I can do to this planet for me, to bring kids with the level of awareness and consciousness that I have today, with all the shit and all the messiness. But with my understanding today, it feels like, and when I look at my kids, I see it. They are amazing. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. So it was the intention. When it happened, I cannot say that my mind was very present, but it was very mysterious, and it was a ceremony. Like it's my mind was out of the picture actually, and my body and my soul took over the journey. I only realized that afterward, of course, but my body and my soul, like they said, okay, we need to do something about it, because the mind will keep making excuses and keep saying, maybe next year. I have so many projects, I have so many trainings, I have so many things I want to do, in a place I want to travel. So maybe next year. And then next year comes, and then, okay, so maybe next year. And then it came to my consciousness that in one point, my soul and my body was like, okay, we need to take over the situation, and we're going to lead now. And the mind, he will catch up. It will be okay. It will not be easy, but he will catch up. And literally, this is what happened. And so there was consciousness there. There was, because I said, I want to seed you. But the mind was not present. And that was the first one. The second one was fully great spirit guided me in a way that I could not predict. It's like, never happened to me what happened in the second one. So that was another great mystery. I
That
can
does
speak
sound
into it,
weird.
but I don't know if how much it's necessary. But literally, never happened to me where I ejaculated without speaking about it, without naming it, without praying. Never happened to me, and that's what happened with the second one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and I understand why. I understand why. I think
Hmm.
that if the second one would not come, I don't know where my relationship would be. I don't know. It's like he came to say, hold on, don't quit, don't let go. You need to hold on. I know it's challenging, but just wait a moment. There is a medicine here. So for me,
Hmm.
it was fully great spirit guided in
Hmm.
that moment. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. All right. Thank you for sharing a little bit about that. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And so since you just mentioned this, the second one kind of supported you to hold on to the relationship, I'm curious if you want to speak a bit about how becoming a parent has impacted your relationship with the mother of your children, who I understand is also your partner, and what
Yeah.
that is like for you, especially as someone who works in the field of sacred sexuality, and you're traveling the world a lot facilitating, and I'm imagining that you're navigating open relating. So I'm sure there's a lot you could share and shed some light on for us about your experience with that and the beauties and challenges. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the way I understand it now, it's almost like a mission to work in this field and being a father. It's not something I planned, or it's not something I imagined, or it's like, oh, let me be a father so I can bring something different in the field. But it was crazily and beautifully, mysteriously designed by life. That's what I understand. Because literally, when we got pregnant, even before we realized that we are pregnant, um, I had suddenly like that inner voice saying, okay, you need to take a pause, actually, from ISTA. You take a pause and step back and somehow like close the container, people call it, like in the open relating world, like close the container and focus my energy only with my partner. And
Mm.
that voice came, it was super clear. And then I came home. It was in a training where I got the message. And I came home, and then my partner shared with me that she's pregnant. So it was like, okay, great spirit, you are very naughty. Um, Thank you for that. And I think that in that point, to some degree, when my first child came and all that initiation came, it was such a radical shift and change from my life before, where I had that freedom, so called, you can look at freedom in different ways, but what I perceived as freedom, I had my freedom, I could travel all the time, I could do whatever I want, be wherever I want, be with whomever I want. I had all that agendas that I could put on that piece of freedom, and suddenly, like, it's being taken. And it's like, holy shit. So actually, like, when my first child came with all the love and my devotion and my presence, in the same time there was also a shock. There was a shock to the system. There was, I wouldn't call it a depression, but I think the shift was so fast and so strong that it took my system time to collaborate and like, okay, I'm here and I'm standing strong. And I literally took a break, and it was in the right time because my first child came when all that story of what so-called pandemic happened. And so anyway, like things were shut down. So I could devote myself completely into parenthood. And that was a big treasure, like, because for one full year, I was a father,
Mm.
just a father. And literally for 1 year, and I think 8 months, I took a break from ISTA, from facilitating, from doing my passion, my mission. And it was terrifying. And in the same time, I remember the first training that I returned as a fourth, something shifted. And I haven't been teaching that curriculum and I haven't been teaching that energy for so long. And in the same time, I was much better than before.
Mm.
Something about me being a father and the way it's affecting the field. It's almost like they can feel it, even without knowing, even without understanding. They feel it. They feel something about the care. Suddenly there is a care, because ultimately when you do this work, whether you are guiding ISTA trainings or whether you are guiding couples or men in their journeys or in the Remember Journey retreat, you meet little kids constantly in the space, in the field. This is what happens. Like our inner kids are surfacing up in different kind of frequencies. And then me being able to address those kids from a father perspective without trying to do it. It just comes naturally. And I feel that they feel it. And that's also the reflections I get. This is how I understand it also. Like, it's the reflections I get, how people feel me and see me in this field.
Mm.
The challenge, some of the challenge, was a huge shift between romantic relationship, into parenthood. It's almost like this is a piece that even people that speak with me about it, no one really, it didn't feel like someone really speaks about the huge shift that happens in the relationship. It doesn't feel like it's really in a conversation. It doesn't feel like it's really there is any initiation into it and guiding into it. Like, we lost the tribe, which is a whole topic. So there is no point of perspective to understand and get that message. And suddenly I found myself moving from a beautiful romantic relationship into parenthood, which suddenly you have sleep deprivation. I hope this is how you said.
Yeah.
There is no sleep, at least for us. Different parents, different story. For us, no sleep. Constantly waking up in the nights, constantly needing to show up in the house in a way you never showed up before. Constantly, it's a moment that it's not about me anymore. It's not just that it's not about me anymore. It's about the kid, then it's about the mother, and then it's about me.
Mm.
So their huge shift of suddenly from being like this male, strong figure, suddenly you're like, can I could go into the victim role in that. Like, I catch myself frequently going to the victim as being a father, needing to be multitasking completely. It's like waking up in the night, waking up in the morning, changing the diapers, making the food, cleaning the house, taking care for the mother as much as possible. Because if I don't sleep, imagine she really doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
and and that's very hard, very, very
Mm.
hard. I think it's the most cruel way of how you say it. It's like when you when somebody is when you're being tested by life in a way, and what's like the most harsh way. One of them for me, it's not sleeping. It
Yeah.
gets you completely crazy.
Yeah.
So in that moment, like, our inner kids shows up completely, because there
Mm.
is when you don't have capacity, when I don't have energy, when I'm not resourced, the mature grown up is not there. There is no one in the house. There is just a little kid that is playing out, and it doesn't play in a nice way,
Mm-hmm.
which took our relationship to a very interesting level. I remember in the birth of my first son, literally in the birth itself, my partner burst into tears, and it was not tears of joy; it was tears of sadness. And afterward, we talked about it, and she said she understand it was she cried the shift from romantic relationship into parenthood,
Mm.
and the pain that it holds, because it will not be the same. It's not going to be only bad or hard or whatever, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
And that's something that needs to be normalized in a way, and needs to be on the counter. It's like the places where I've learned, which one of them, for example, is the Global Healing Community Tamera in Portugal,
Mm-hmm.
where the relationship is in the center of the community. It's in the center fire of the community. It's in the altar. Everything is on the table. Nothing is being kept in the shadows. At least this is what we are calling to. Then it's each one of us decision how we move in from that. So you move it to the center fire. But in our culture, where the tribe is gone, you can have tribal sensations, you can have communitarian feelings, but most of us don't live in this tribe community way of living. And most of us live in a nuclear houses where there is a family, a father, a mother, or a father and a father, or mother and a mother, and all that jazz, with kids. And sometimes the grandparents helps, sometimes uncles, maybe some friends, but it's mostly the parents.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, I remember, as much as I believed, for example, in a community before I had a kid, once I had a kid, it's like, wow, it's crazy to do it outside of a community, yet we do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, the first year was very challenging. And again, we are again in the first year because my younger boy is now 9.5 months. So we're in the first year where sexuality is like, where is it? And again, this is for me. Other people have different experiences. And in the same time, I would say that mostly sexuality is something that, from being in the top of the list, or at least in a higher place, it goes lower and lower and lower. And one of like the lowest part of um, the things that we give energy to, which
Mm-hmm.
is in a way sad and ridiculous in the same time. So sexuality is out of the table, and triggers are everywhere, from sleep deprivation and constantly being, for us, being a lot together as a family in a small house where we live. And what I've learned there in that moment is that when shit hit the fence, when there is a storm in your house right now, and they have little kids, and you have a mom that is fully devoted to the kids, someone needs to maintain the fire, and it have
Mm.
to be me. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it can be really really hard, because it means I constantly need to hold. But if I don't hold, if I don't take care of the fire, then my family don't have does we don't have a fire. And I think every house needs to have a fire, or every tribe needs to have a fire, every whatever country, or all those different names needs to have a fire of that place, where we nourish that fire and we take care of it the best way we can. So things in the house being taken care of the best way we can. And the question that I was kept being with was, okay, I take care of the fire, but where are the places where I can fall apart? Where are the places where I can let go, when I can release and rest, for example?
Yeah.
And in that moment, it's not necessarily, it can be from time to time, but most days I've experienced it, it's not in your house.
Right.
You need to go to your people, to your friends, to your community. I was fortunate enough to have brothers that are mature 10 years and 20 years and 25 years from me in that moment of becoming a father. I called that in actually. I remember in that initiation of becoming a father, I prayed, I need my elders. I need my elders. I cannot do it by myself. And somehow life provided, and I got them in the shape of friends that are actually, some of them are elders and some of them are on the path of becoming an elders, and they have kids already. And I think that without that support circle,
Mm.
I have no idea where I would be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
For sure, it will be much more challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, a lot of showing up, a lot of patience, and it seems like it can be very isolating, this nuclear family where you're in the home and it's just you and the other parent and the kids, and yeah, it can be very isolating and very demanding. So I'm hearing you saying that for you, it was very important to reach out to your community, get the support of your friends, your brothers, the elders, other parents that have walked this walk before you and could support you and resource you and refill your cup so that you could go back home and show up feeding the fire of your home, the hearth.
Fully, fully.
Yeah.
Without them, it would not work for me.
Yeah.
And I also want to say that I hold a tremendous gratitude for the path I've been through and the inner work I've done, where in that path I had to discover, even before having kids, like to grow my inner father. And through that understanding, I also need to grow my inner mother. Because at that moment where there is no sleep and there is so much challenges and your inner child comes up to the surface, someone needs to support that child. And sometimes it's not anyone from outside, it needs to be from my inside, from my inner world, where I discovered my inner father show up more and more, and my inner father show up, my inner mother show up more and more.
Mm.
And I think a lot of it is thanks to the work I've done in the transformational field, which a lot of it is with ISTA, for example,
Yeah.
where like intentionally we are addressing that piece, or in the Remember with Brotherhood, where we are addressing that piece of our inner father and how to nourish our inner child when it comes up. Because ultimately, yeah, we are a tribe, and in the same time we are alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go to those places where, okay, I need to call out my inner father right now, or I look to God or the sky or Wakantanga, Great Spirit, and I ask them to father me for a moment, or consciously even going to my friends and like saying, hey, I need a father for a moment, which was also a beautiful piece for me. Like
Mm.
discovering that I can actually consciously ask from someone to be my father, which is so different than doing it unconsciously. So different, because in the unconscious there is for sure a projection, but consciously it's not necessarily a projection, it's just a request, it's a desire. And it's so beautiful to realize that I need that at the moment. I cannot be at that moment my inner father, bro, sis, whatever. For me, mostly it's with my bros. Like, can you be my father for a moment? Can you just hold me for a moment? It's like, wow. And that's all I need many times. And yeah,
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that, and I get it. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to elaborate a little bit more for our listeners that maybe don't have a reference point for what is the inner mother, inner father. Like, what are those qualities? Who can fill those roles for you? and just touch on what those qualities are, what it means.
Yeah, for sure. For me, growing up without a father, 100%, I had a lack of masculinity, a lack of yang energy, sun energy, whatever people want to call it. And there is some energy that is more efficient, more like direct, more powerful, more decisive, um, holding my back, for example. That energy that I feel that whatever I'm doing, there is someone at my back saying, I've got you. I've got your back. I'm with you. I trust you. You're perfect just the way you are. Know that peace. And with the mother, for me, it's about nurturing and a place where I can go to rest and just to be soft with myself. And being a father, it's constantly meeting those parts with the interaction with your child. Constantly. Like the kids comes and they need some energy, some specific energy. And you can see when do they go to the father, when do they go to the mother, at least for us, like with our roles. I'm the father, so I'm more like the boundary maker in a way. Like I'm holding the boundaries. I'm not necessarily putting the boundaries, but I'm holding the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more like serious and putting things on the spot. Where Pazi, my beloved, the mother of my kids, she's more like the nurturing and like loving them, and so I can really see it through the dynamic of the family, like those pieces. Okay, so what is that energy that actually they are needing at that moment, and can I have that energy for myself? So it's a lot about just looking at the kids. And if we don't have kids, you don't need to look at kids outside, your own kids. You can look at other kids. You can look at your inner kid. Oh wait, my inner kid is up. What does that kid need? And the tricky part is that many times the kid doesn't know what do they need. They don't know to say it. It's about saying it. So you need to tune in. So even when my inner kid arises, it's like, okay, he doesn't know what it needs, but I can tune in as like, okay, what does it need right now? So, so yeah, being able to play with those different roles and being able to call them in. And there is something very shamanic in that, because that energy of father and mother, it's very distorted. The story around it is very distorted. The amount of expectations that we have in our society today, the way I understand the story of life, the amount of expectations that we have from a father role, all the pieces that a father needs to be, it's ridiculous. Like nobody can hold those roles. Nobody, no human form can do all these roles and be perfect. Like we are doomed to fail as fathers, and we are doomed to fail as mothers from the level of expectations. So I understand those qualities that I require cannot be received from a human form. Actually, can only be received from spirit and from my inner soul, that can come up and show up at the moment I need it. But I need to know it and I need to understand it, because when I project it outside, I'm done. I'm done. That's the end of my process, the end of a relationship. If I
Mm-hmm.
project that to my partner, it will not work. And I do sometimes, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot to ask from a single human to, yeah, there's a ideals of all of the most amazing qualities that we want from the mother, the father, the beloved. And as humans, we are imperfect. And yeah,
Beautifully imperfect.
I imagine it's a bringing a lot of compassion and forgiveness and patience and remembering that it's challenging and sometimes we mess up, and how can I bring myself back into presence and do whatever repair needs to happen? How can I do it better next time? How can I keep showing up with love in my partnership, as a parent, with my child, with myself?
In that journey, for example, like me with my journey with my father, I came to a place of what I could perceive it as a completion or forgiveness. Not that there is anything necessary to forgive, because he was who he was. He is who he is, which is a beautiful, beautiful man, very special, very unique man. So I came to a completion, but then as being a father, for example, personally, I met my inner places of rage and anger and violence. Not that I acted out on that violence, to be clear, but that sensation of violence. And I never met that before, beside maybe being in an army. But that piece of violence, and suddenly I felt into my father, who came from such a different culture, Peruvian culture. And it's like suddenly there was tremendous amount of compassion towards the way he was raised and towards those pieces that he got as a child, and the way it acted out when he was a mature person, a father, a partner, where the places where he was violent, also physically. I remember that moment that I felt that energy. I was like, fuck, so easy to go there. Suddenly there was so much compassion to my father, and honestly to many humans around the world, that they don't have the power at that moment to hold them from acting on that violence, for example. So there was a tons of compassion towards my father at that moment. And so another layer of healing, like the beauty of healing that can happen through the journey of being a parent. And I think that one piece that is very important is with the understanding of the support of a tribe, and what does it even mean. Okay, to also understand we're not alone in that. Like, one of the most consistent story of humankind, it's the sensation of being alone, which partly I would say in the world of polarity, it's true. It's true. Partly it's true. But because it's a world of polarity, that's how life exists: day and night, sun and moon, dark and light, all that. So I'm alone, but I'm not. Like, alone, but it's by itself, that word alone is all one. I'm alone, but I'm one with the all.
Yes.
And bringing those topics to the surface is about understanding that, oh, wait, I can take a breath. I'm not alone. It's like that moment when people feel that depression and the anxiety, that that's a world pandemic. And it's like, wait, more people experiencing it. It's not making it better, but it's kind of normalizing the sensation. And then, okay, so if more people can feel it, maybe we have something to give one another. Maybe we need to come to a place of total surrender. And I can say in parenthood, for me, wow, total, like opening my arms and say, okay, God, take me. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Take me. And then through that, like discovering the tremendous importance of a support system and being in it together. Support is not just about, hey, can you give me advices or consulting, and can you coach me? No, sometimes it's just by being together in the storm, in the messiness, and in the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. It's beautiful.
There is something I want to add to that, because as much as I understand it, the relationship today in our world culture, Western culture, I would say, as it seems, or being researched or whatever you want to call it, it's the hardest that it ever been.
Mm.
And why is that? It's because in the past, the everything was defined. Like being a father was very defined. Like as a father, you are providing financially, you are keeping the you're sustaining the family, and you're creating the shelter. You're bringing food to the table. As a mother, you are taking care of the art, the kids. You're making the house beautiful. You're preparing the food, and of course, there can be laps here and there, and we can play those different roles. But it was much more defined in a way, and not necessarily in a healthy way. I'm not saying it's necessarily the way, but today everything is a mix. To be a father, you need to be a multitasking completely. You need to do everything. To be a mother, you want to um, still be a successful human being, a successful woman, to fulfill yourself. All those things, which in the past you are a mother, you are a mother. So suddenly all the definitions are very blurred and very mixed. So actually, in a way, the challenges that are arise through that are different than in the past. And I think like one of the women I've heard speaking about it was Esther Perel, which for me, she's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant woman and a couple counsel, where she talked about that piece as well, which was for me was already present, and it was so nice to hear another person say it, because for me it was like, oh, okay, confirmation.
Yeah.
So I think it's harder than it was in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, being a parent is a full-time job, and in our culture, we have parenting as a full-time job and also housekeeper and careers and community, and we have so many different hats, and we want to do them all amazingly, and it's a lot to take on.
And you're doomed to fail. And that's so powerful for me as a man to feel that I'm failing. It's such a humbling experience in front of the world, in front of myself, in front of my partner, and humbling and super uncomfortable. Super uncomfortable. Like I think it's the hardest for me is to feel that I've done something wrong as a man.
Mm.
Then it's like the pain that comes with that, and the social story and contract in a way of what I'm supposed to be as a man. And
Mhm.
today, as as a father, as a man, I need to be a father. I need to be a lover. I need to be a friend. I need to be a provider. I need to be a partner. And I need to maintain the house, do the dishes,
Mhm.
make food, do the laundry, everything.
Mhm.
And what I meet constantly with myself in the relationship, that when I try to do everything, I can do everything, but nothing perfect.
Mm.
And that's tricky, and it's edgy, and it's not comfortable
Mhm.
because I constantly fail. And what I do understand is that it's an initiation, because in the past, failure was a gift. You would go to an initiation journey and you would fail. The tribe would celebrate you. Yes, good job, you failed. So good. Keep trying. Keep doing. You're on the path, you're good.
Mhm.
So there is a huge initiation of being in that role of father, of constantly like failing.
Yeah, I mean, what's coming to me is just this like a perspective shift of like how do we define success and failure, and what are we measuring that against, and like is it even serving to use that word, and just like like what is the reframe that's actually inspiring and uplifting.
I could not ask for like for me, after being a father, every other initiation I've been through in my life looks like that was easy. And of course, it's easy for me to say it now after being through that initiations. Yeah, when I was there, I was not like, oh, well, wait, to be father will be much harder. But being in that role right now, every other initiation looked like was a preparation for that role. Now, I want to say that to be a father, you don't have to have a kid to be a father. First of all, there are many kids around the world that you can give the father frequency to. It can be the kids of your friends or family or whatever. Second of all, there are different projects that you can be a father to. But the journey somehow, especially if you're doing it with a role of a mother or so on, will meet the same kind of um, pivot points. And so I can say that initiation of going through that, for me, very challenging experience in a relationship and meeting my deepest uncomfortable pieces that I've never met before. It's like everything I've done before prepared me for that moment. So when I meet that moment, I can try to meet it in the best way I can, which means sometimes to fall apart. That will be the best way I can do right now. Completely fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And can I see also that as the best way I can to do it right now? Because normally what I would do, I would judge that piece. I would shame it. And in the world of shadow hunting, as we learn it, it will be like the immediately the shadow piece will run away because I'm judging it and I'm shaming it. Rather, I just that's the best I can do right now. And just even to say to myself, even if the external person or society or culture would say that you're not doing your best from a social perspective, to say to myself, I'm doing my best right now. It's like a moment that I hold myself. That's the moment I hold myself. That's the moment my inner father and my inner mother jumps into the picture. Like my kid today, he went to the kindergarten without me in the afternoon, and him and another girl did a mess. They did a mess, and I went there and it's like, oh wow, and I was angry. I didn't shout, but I was angry. But my kid was just with me there, and he started to be fully devoted to make an amends, like to clean up and to make everything and say sorry and thank you. And I looked at him and was like, you're doing your best you can. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And what happens if we say that to ourselves? Like so often the way that we talk to our kids is the way that we talk to our inner kid when they come up and it's not comfortable. My kids now, my inner kid comes up and I would shame him. If I imagine that's actually my kid now and I'm shaming my kid, oh, that feels really bad. That doesn't feel good. So there is a constant mirror. So that's why I'm saying, like, to be a father, you don't need to have like a blood child from your seed or a mother or whatever. It's just that inner kid is always there. And through that work, that's a shamanic work, that's a transformational work, that's a spiritual work completely. And it's beautiful to anchor it that this is a spiritual work that is happening right now. It's not just a day-to-day task. It's not. Yeah. And through that comes, in a way, the Tantra. Because when you see it not as a day-to-day work, it's a spiritual practice fully. How present can I be when I'm changing diapers? How present can I be when I'm changing the clothes of my little kid that, I don't know why, but he doesn't like it? And I play with him to at least try as much as I can to help him to enjoy it, to have fun from it. and how often and I'm with my phone with my kids because I have so much that I need to do, and how often am I fully present, and you feel the difference. I feel the difference. Maybe you as well, hopefully, but I feel the difference. So it's like being a person, a man that works in the field of transformational work and conscious relating and conscious sexuality and all that, where we talk about Tantra, which is a whole different podcast for sure. But for me, like the essence of Tantra is about being a present in every single moment and surrender to the nothingness and to the void and to life to take you through the journey and allow life to move through you. That's the level of being present that I require myself now when I make food for my kids. And that energy comes in. And suddenly my tantric practice is not so much in my sexuality, unfortunately. It will return. It will return. But it's more in those different small acts of life. And that's a treasure. Like it brings back that energy of looking at a flower like it's the most beautiful things ever and not just crossing it. And that's the moment where I can like feel the emotional and the tears of the beauty of life. Only when I'm fully present with my kid, then it's like, wow, life, you're great.
Yeah, I'm hearing it's about awareness of yourself, how you're showing up with presence, what you were when you were speaking about the inner child and the like external child, it's recognizing the voice of when my inner child is up, how am I speaking to myself, and how that's such a mirror for you when your birth child is making a mess, and how are you speaking to them, and what is the energy and the emotion that shows up, and what an opportunity to see the mirror there and look at how much awareness can I bring into my internal dialogue as well as to my external dialogue, and how much opportunity there is for growth and learning and healing. And anyone can do that, right? You don't have to have an external child to be paying attention and noticing, like, how am I speaking to myself? What is my internal dialogue, and how can I be more loving and patient and forgiving and compassionate to myself and to the people around me, whether it's a child or not, because I imagine it shows up in partnership as well. Yeah. And, hearing also when you were talking about going to your community for support, it's giving people in your community the opportunity to show up and parent you, and what a beautiful intimacy is available for everyone, the community and the tribe, to support each other
Fully.
and allowing us to show our vulnerability of, I need support, can you hold me? And to be able to provide that with love and nourishment and care.
I remember a small moment where my older son was 1 month, and we had a huge breakdown between me and my partner. A huge one, like very dense and painful and ugly. And I came with that to my brothers. Super uncomfortable to share it. Very uncomfortable. It's very not my highest self and the way I like to be presented in the world, or at least the way I thought I like to be presented in the world, because I don't really like to be presented just as a superhuman or something like that, just as a simple human. And I was very vulnerable to share it, like what the thing that came up to me at that moment. And the way they received me was with so much grace and so much love and so much compassion and so much like, bro, we've all been there in a way. Even if it's not the same situation, we've all been there. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment where I realized that I can lean on my brothers and the importance as me, and it, it's easy to see it as in a brother in a male body, but my brother can also be in a female body. um, like I
Mm-hmm.
told Usha before we start the conversation, I told her like I'm also your bro, like we're also bros in a way, and I'm here to support, and I'm here to be supported as well. And it's that there is something about that frequency of brotherhood in the journey that starts to be much more revealed, the importance of it, how unique and powerful it is, and how it's not resembled to anything else. That energy of a brotherhood in that moment, I cannot receive it from nothing else than brothers. And I think it also made the brotherhood journey that we are facilitating better. The Remember Brotherhood journey, like it became better through me being a father and how it affects the field. And another one of our bros became again a father, and another one that was a part of us what is a father. So that energy really like start to come to the essence of the field,
Mm-hmm.
and it created a lot of healing, I say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all that story brings a lot of healing to me as someone who grew up without a father.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, somehow learning how to be a better father to myself, even after feeling I'm already came to a place of being a good father to myself. I have more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Well, this has been a pretty rich and thorough conversation. I'm wondering if there are any last pieces that we didn't get to or that are still out there wanting to be shared.
Yeah, there is something that I'm learning actually now in these days, which connects to the urgency of me fulfilling different things I wanted to do in life and different agendas, and actually understanding that time shifts in this role. It's not
Mm,
it's not just me anymore. There is a whole family. So my desires can be the same, but the need is different, which can play out, for example, in the aspect of open relationship in parenthood. It's a whole theme. Open relationship by itself, it's a whole theme. It's probably 10 podcasts at least. Um, but understanding that my desires are the same. It's the same as it's always been for love and freedom and unity and togetherness and healing and peace and celebration. So the desires are the same, but the need at this moment is different. I cannot move at this moment from the urgency of me fulfilling pieces, because that urgency actually it's not connected to the present moment where my family is now. If I want to travel somewhere, it's not me anymore. Yeah, I can stay in any cabin. I don't care. I love to stay in a simple cabin on the hammock in the jungle. Not anymore. There is a whole family that have
mm,
needs right now. And those needs are important to synergize. So ultimately, it's a place where I tap into the relaxation of where I'm at right now, understanding that all the ideas and the visions and the prophecies and um, just ideas of the mind doesn't matter that I see and I want them to happen now is they're already happening. Whatever I'm doing right now, it's already supporting those visions to happen. And it doesn't mean, okay, so I can chill out on my hammock because no, I'm a father. I cannot chill out so often. But it's the understanding that everything have a moment. And there is something very feminine in it, I feel. Like, because I see it many times from my partner, like she really teaches me that. Like everything have a moment, you know. We have two little kids right now. Is it the best time to travel all the family together? To go to an adventure? For some families, yes. For our family, not necessarily. And can I let go of my ideas of how can we live and to dissolve myself into the family heart? It's like dissolving myself to the tribal heart. The thing that moves me in life is about shifting the paradigm story, shifting culture, creating a language of respect, of honor, of peace, of love, all that kitschy, beautiful things that I honestly, truly believe in. And to return to a tribe consciousness, to a tribal consciousness, there is no other better way than having a family. And it can be a few friends that comes together, or the way I relate to my parents and my brothers. Because when I make that in a good way, then maybe, only maybe, our culture that we've created can move better towards a tribal society where all is in the one and one is in the all, and we are all related. And it's so challenging to hold that, but we are all related. I see it. I see it with my kids all the time. What I feel, they feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Nimai. Mm,
Thank you, Usha.
so wonderful. Receiving your inspiring words and this beautiful transmission around fatherhood and how it has been for you. So thank you for sharing all of this with us. If listeners want to learn more about you or find you in the world for one of your journeys, where can we find you in terms
Mostly you
of
can
a
fi-
site?
so mostly you can find me home holding a baby. So you're welcome to visit, especially after sleeping hours, and that's the best time. um, but beside that, I'm privileged to have a supporting partner that support me as much as she's able to in her capacity to still go and facilitate in ISTA trainings in different places that I'm invited to gratefully, like Portugal and Berlin and the US and Poland and Ecuador. I'm privileged to move a lot and in the Rememberhood Brotherhood journey. And there are
Mhm.
many projects that will come once my kids will be a bit older
Yes.
and more self-sustained
Mhm.
and my community that is being built. So everything in the right time. But at the moment, it's mostly through the ISTA website and the rememberjourney.com.
Rememberjourney.com.
Remen. Bear.
Right.
So it's actually with an N.
REMENBER
Yeah.
journey.com.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. All right. Before I let you go completely, I have some spitfire questions so that we can just know a little bit about you in some fun ways. So I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to answer in as few words as possible. You ready?
Yeah. Intuitively, like,
Yep.
sweet.
What have you done for the first time recently?
What have I done for the first time recently? Uh, um, oh, that's a good one. Exposed my emotional, vulnerable state in a way I've never done before.
Story
Yeah.
for another time. Thank you.
Yeah.
What is something you always take on retreat with you?
My little lingam crystal that I've got from
Mm,
Triambica.
cool.
And my
What is your
guitar.
yes.
My guitar.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. What is your favorite dessert?
Probably chocolate. Probably the chocolate of my partner, very specifically. When you guys
Uh,
come to meet and visit, you will try it. The best.
mm, awesome. And last question, if you didn't know anything about the temple arts, what would you be doing for work or career?
Probably with teenagers, with
Mm,
teenagers that have experienced tough life. Was always a dream.
mm, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Nimai. Mwah.
Thank you, Usha. You're great. I love you. I'm your cheerleader always.